and welcome to episode 5 of the Longbox. I'm Mandy.
And I'm Andy.
Coming to you from Mushyhead Comics with all the comic, entertainment, and geek-filled news for the week of December 10th, 2017. On today's episode, let's talk Star Wars The Last Jedi. Oh my god, I'm so excited. I can hardly wait for Thursday.
Wait, it's this Thursday?
Yes, it's this Thursday.
I'm not ready. I don't think I can handle that much excitement. I'm gonna pass out.
Next, Fox and Disney are back at the negotiating table for 21st Century Fox. Could this deal happen? We will discuss what this could mean. But first, let's get the rundown on all the graphic goodness in stores December 13th. Andy, what can we look forward to this week?
First on my list, I have Amazing Spider-Man 792. Marvel has recently revealed the hidden figure that was on the cover. It's Flash Thompson, aka Agent Venom, in anti-Venom colors.
Dun dun dun!
What could this mean? We will have to read to find out what is going on with this new character. Despicable Deadpool 290. Cover says it all. Cable dies. I'm intrigued enough to give it a read. X-Men Blue number 17. The X-Men are lost in time. More specifically, they are stuck in 2099. Who could they possibly go to in this time that could help? How about X-Men 2099?
What? That's crazy. Not X-Men.
Okay, number ones for this week. Monstro Mechanica from Aftershock Comics. Judas from Boom Studios. Giants from Dark Horse Comics. Rumble, Image Comics, and The Wicked and the Divine from Image Comics. Also, Under from Titan Publishing.
Alright, well first on my list I have Monstro Mechanica number 1. It's a very exciting series, starring Leonardo da Vinci and his female apprentice and their wooden robot. At the height of the Renaissance, warring factions vie for control of Leonardo da Vinci's destructive arsenal. The only thing standing in their way is Leonardo's young apprentice and her 9-foot mechanical bodyguard. Together, they navigate the world of wicked men, war machines, determined to save Leonardo from the world and the world from Leonardo. From creator Paul Aller of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Chris Evan Hughes of Winona Earp comes this swashbuckling adventure about war, identity, and the birth of the modern world. I love cover A, but cover B is also good. I'm excited to see where this takes us, and I love the concept of this book.
Yeah, and I think you could take into account the well-known phrase of, he's too smart for his own good.
Next on my list, I put down Judas number 1. From Emmy and WGA Award-nominated writer Jeff Loveness of Marvel's Nova, presents an exploration of the classical biblical character perfect for fans of Preacher and the Goddamned. Judas Iscariot's journey through life and death, grappling with his place in the greatest story ever told and how much of his part was preordained. In a religion built on redemption and forgiveness, one man had to sacrifice himself for everyone, and it wasn't Jesus.
Out of that whole summary that you just gave, you sold me on, and it wasn't Jesus. Like, say what?
I feel like his story is kind of forgotten.
Oh, he is not forgotten. He's just, what do you want to say, casted as the villain.
And sometimes I feel like that's unfair because we only know one side of the story.
Nobody gives him the benefit of the doubt. Nobody puts perspective to it.
Yeah, I'm hoping the series kind of gives him more depth in the whole religious aspect so we can kind of see how his story ended.
Well, I think his story ended when he hung himself.
Okay, good segue. Moving on to a lighter note. On my must-haves for the week, I have Star Wars number 40. I love the cover by David Marquez. I also had Invader Zim number 26. I still love Zim. I'm still a fan. I pick this up every time it comes out. And finally, we have our Yay covers for the week. I put down Wonder Woman number 36. I love cover B by artist Jenny Frisson.
Yeah, she always does a good cover. I like to call her rendition of Wonder Woman the Jennifer Connellys. And for my Yay cover, I simply picked this one for fun. It is the B cover for Despicable Deadpool number 290 by Silva Phoenix, and I find it just humorous. It kind of goes with the storyline too, that Deadpool is going to kill Cable because he is now best buds with Strife, and in the cover, they are taking a selfie together with Snapchat filters.
Yeah, I enjoy how Strife is vomiting rainbows in the filter.
Yeah, my pick is manly. Yeah.
'Cause I'm a real man.
Yeah. Okay, moving on.
And obviously, because we're not complete losers, there will be links to check out all the books, including variants and exclusives, on our website. Guess what time it is? It's Star Wars time! I hope we can make it to the 15th in one piece. Let's talk about all the good, the bad, and the ugly of the Star Wars franchise, and where it's going.
Dun, 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 dun. You should play some Star Wars music right here, but you may not be able to because of copyright. La, la. It's Star Wars time. He lives in a ball in outer space.
Darth Vader!
That's all I got.
So at the end of The Force Awakens, we lost Han Solo, and we didn't really have an opportunity to fully grieve that loss.
Yeah, we did. We totally got to saw him fall off that bridge and wave at him as he fell. He fell, right? Didn't he?
Yes, he fell off the bridge.
Yeah. So it's like, bye, Felicia.
Whatever, Chewie's reaction was what made me cry the most. I mean, Chewie lost Han. That's sad. But really, the saddest part about this scenario is that Harrison Ford recently did an interview for Blade Runner 2049, and he said that he petitioned Abrams to kill off Han Solo. So not only did we lose Han in the movies, but we lost Leia in real life, because Carrie Fisher's dead.
Who died?
Oh my god, man, pay attention.
I know. You know what happened? Carrie Fisher petitioned to be killed off too, and they're like, no, we're already killing off Han Solo. And she's like, well, fine, then I'll just fucking die.
Something is very wrong with you. So now, with the tragic losses of both Han and Leia, let's talk about something more positive for the franchise. We're entering into the reign of Rian Johnson, and from what we know so far, his takeover has started with a bang.
Yeah, Rian Johnson has a decent background. He's done a couple good films that I've already seen, which initially I didn't even know Rian Johnson had done. I remember a while back I had seen it was an indie film. It was called Brick, and I mostly watched it because it had Joseph Gordon-Levitt, which he was the lead, and the girl from Lost, Emily DeRaven, she was also in it. She was the girlfriend that disappeared. It's kind of a neo-noir mystery film, and I love the feel of the movie and the merging of modern-day teens with the old-style noir detective films. And then he completely did a different type of movie in Looper, which that was a little more mainstream. Again, he obviously liked working with Joseph Gordon-Levitt because he's in it with Bruce Willis. And this movie is about enforcing hits by sending them back in time. So essentially, Joseph Gordon-Levitt is the young version of Bruce Willis. And people are sent back in time to him and he kills them. But then one of the days, Bruce Willis is who's sent back, and he kind of recognizes himself. Like, he sees enough of himself to know that that's him. And then you can see where the movie probably goes from there. But that one was also very good.
I think I remember Looper. Sounds like something I would have been into because two of my husbands are in it. But I like Johnson as a director. I think overall we get a good quality story from everything he's done.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, he showed some range there because these are two different films.
Well, obviously he's impressed Lucas and Disney because he's one of the few directors that has stayed on board. We've had several director changes since Lucasfilm started making Star Wars films again after the Disney merger. In 2012, 6 directors in total were attached to various projects and only 2 have made their films from start to finish. That's a significant statistic.
And almost every time they cite creative indifference or
some kind of personal issue that comes up.
Essentially what I get from that is they wanted to do something and Star Wars or Lucasfilm or Disney, whoever, was like, no, you need to stay along this path. I don't feel like Disney's going to be like, no, you need to do it this way and that's it. I think they give you a path that they want you to stay on and you're allowed to take some artistic license to it. But some of these other guys, they just like, no, we want to do this. They don't even want to stay in the right direction.
Yeah, essentially Disney is a stay in your lane kind of company. Also, Star Wars has a very diverse fan base, but we all know what we're looking for in the same end product. And I feel like Lucas, even though he can't make them,
yes,
he knows what we want, and he has a solid vision for the franchise. I mean, we've seen the prequels, so we don't necessarily want him to go back.
I was going to say, it's like anything else. You can have a vision about a picture you want painted, but it doesn't mean you can paint it. Which essentially George Lucas discovered that with his prequel, well, with his prequels, but his vision is sound.
Okay, so Sci-Fi Wire had a very good article about the dissection of all the directors. Colin Trevorrow was announced in 2015 for episode 8, but later mutually chose to part ways with the project. And to me, that's like when people do a joint statement when they break up and they say, we mutually parted ways. No, that means one of you wanted to break up and the other one was like, okay.
Yeah, and they didn't want to drag each other's names through the mud, so they just do that whole thing of, yeah, we mutually agreed.
Yeah, and I feel like Disney and George Lucas have enough power that they could literally stomp you into the dirt.
Yeah, but at the same time, somebody can talk enough trash that it may hurt your bottom line.
Yeah, it definitely could. I mean, I'm sure it's a situation where they gave him enough hush money to keep his mouth shut in the long run.
But here's the thing, though. I still like Colin Trevorrow. He is the one that brought us Jurassic World, and another example of a movie that did not do well on Tomato Meter, but we did enjoy, The Book of Henry.
Oh my god, that movie is so freaking sad. Yes, he had great direction on that movie, but you lost me a little bit on the ending.
That's probably what Disney was saying about Star Wars.
Yeah, no joke. Okay, next on our directors that didn't make the cut. In the summer of 2017, we lost Philip Lord and Chris Miller. They were scheduled to be on the Han Solo project, and now they have also gotten their walking papers.
And can I just give a little repertoire? Phil Lord has directed such films as 22 Jump Street, The Lego Movie, 21 Jump Street, and Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs.
Okay, so mostly comedy and some animated. Well, what about Chris Miller?
Okay, they do work in a pair. Same movies.
Okay, so when one goes, the other goes. Well, on a positive note, we did gain Ron Howard as the replacement on the Solo project.
Ooh, yeah, forgot about that one.
So I feel like we're going in a good direction. And if that wasn't enough, we locked in Emilia Clarke.
Say what? Really? That is not in your notes.
Yes, I know. I'm reading that right now. And I would say that Clarke joined because of Howard and his name.
Well, because you know what kind of film you're going to get. He has a very defined portfolio. This guy's an Oscar-winning director.
Yeah, so I'm excited to see where that's going, but it was a strange transition from Lord and Miller to Howard. Next, Rogue One gave credit to only one director, Gareth Edwards, but the film had massive rewrites and reshoots with Tony Gilroy at the helm, which drastically changed the original vision. Yet Gilroy did not receive any post-production credit on the film.
Well, they may have just undone enough of the movie that they didn't get that. You know what I mean? But at the same time, you know, it's the same thing that they did with Joss Whedon. He only got a script writer or something.
Yeah, on the Justice League.
Yes.
So then we locked in Josh Trank for the untitled, unrevealed character movie in the Star Wars franchise. But he missed his scheduled appearance at the Star Wars Celebration in 2015. And just days later, he was no longer on the film. It was rumored to be for personal reasons, but I think it's another one of those air quote mutual parting situations.
Can I tell you what Josh Trank directed?
Yes.
Okay, first off, this is what put him on the map. Do you remember the movie Chronicle?
Yes.
That was about kind of a realistic vision of what a superhero would be, like, or somebody that gained powers.
Correct.
And then are you ready for the next one?
Yes.
The reboot, or the second version of Fantastic Four.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Which I will say, of all the movies that people have talked about with, you know, being bad, you know, like when they talk about Suicide Squad and Justice League. Okay, Suicide Squad, you could tell the direction was bad. Fantastic Four, same thing. Like it was, I actually had to agree with with Rotten Tomatoes on this one. It was, you could see where the vision was. You could see it was there. And then they just kind of like, what are you doing? Like the direction. It was the direction. And I wonder if that had anything to do with it.
It's possible.
When did they part ways? What year was it?
2015.
Yeah, Fantastic Four came out in 2015.
Okay, so now knowing all of that, it was rumored that the film Trank was attached to was the Boba Fett solo film. Because they had not released the name of the character, I feel like Trank's departure, knowing that he was attached to the Fantastic Four film, should be a huge relief for the Boba Fett fans in the Star Wars universe.
I think part of that is they don't want to associate themselves with something that can hurt the bottom line again. Because I think it's the same thing with Trevorrow. Like we were talking about with the Book of Henry. It got bad reviews. And then miraculously, he's not directing the Star Wars film anymore. And it sounds like the same thing here. Like, they're like, okay, he's doing this. He's got a good, we've seen his vision with Chronicle. It did well. He's going to do Fantastic Four. And then it's like, oh, wait, what happened? Oh, I don't know if we can associate ourselves with you now. We don't want that smear on our name or whatever.
Yeah, and I feel like if you're a true and honest fan, like I would assume that Lucas is, you have to think about the bottom line of your fan base. Kimmel actually had a funny quote from a recent episode where he was interviewing the entire cast, and Mark Hamill said that the Star Wars was geared towards children. And Kimmel said, no, your target market is middle-aged nerd men. And I was like, yes. I realize I'm not a middle-aged man, but this is my series. This is my franchise. This is what I look forward to every year. And this is my childhood. And so if you lose me or the rest of us middle-aged nerd men, you will lose a chunk of your profit base. So that leaves us with two men left in the director's roulette, J.J. Abrams and Rian Johnson. The Force Awakens made a total of $2 billion, so it was well worth Disney's acquisition of Lucasfilms for the $4 billion price tag.
Obviously, it's not all profit, but you can see they are definitely on track to more than supplant the amount they put into purchasing Lucasfilms.
Yes, and Lucas has said on several radio interviews that Johnson and Abrams represents the original vision that he set forth with the 4 through 6 trilogy, and they just got where he was going.
They get it. I like that.
Yes, it's very promising, and Disney and Lucas love Johnson so much that when he pitched the idea of giving them another trilogy of 10, 11, and 12, they immediately jumped on board. He is locked in as of November 9th, 2017 to write and direct the first film in a new Star Wars trilogy, and he would help develop the other two in the series.
In other words, maintain creative control so that somebody else doesn't come in and
mess it all up.
Yes.
Yeah, and basically I think that speaks volumes for Johnson as a director. I liked The Force Awakens, I liked Episode 7, and what Abrams gave us, but there's a little apprehension when he took over. Lucas did come out and say, no, it's okay, we've got this, he's doing a great job, everybody just stay on board. But you didn't really hear the same buzz about Johnson, like nobody was not on board with where they thought he was going. And then all of a sudden, Disney's like, we got a good one. And then Lucas is like, oh my God, if you guys are fans of the original trilogy, you're going to be really proud. And even Johnson was like, I am proud of this movie. Like, I'm proud that my name is attached to this project.
Yeah, I think their words are just helping lift everybody's hopes about this movie, that it's going to be really good. And because I, for one, am sold. Like, he's already got a portfolio that I enjoy. I really, and then getting references the way he is from people we care about their opinion. It's just one of those things where it's like, come on, just give it to me now.
Mark Hamill was a little apprehensive with his short cameo at the end of The Force Awakens. He even made a comment to several news media outlets that he had been flipping through the script and he was seeing some talk about Skywalker. Everyone was talking about Skywalker, and he was like, okay, but I don't even speak. I just pull my hood back and I turn around. But he said that 8 is very reminiscent of that good feel. It has the same storyline, but it gives you that New Hope, Episode 5, Empire Strikes Back with its cliffhangers, and it gives you changes that has a surprise to the characters. So, I mean, if Mark Hamill is telling you that this is going to be great, if Johnson is telling you that this is going to be great, and Lucas is telling you this is going to be great, I really feel like this is going to be great.
Didn't I read something? I don't know if maybe you read this also, but didn't Rian Johnson have J.J. Abrams change the end of Force Awakens so that it would segue into his vision?
Yes.
Okay, and see, and that makes sense because it's like, you know what? This is why you're not speaking. This is why you're not doing this. Because guess what? You're somebody else's direction. And I don't want to taint that in any way.
Which is very similar to what you said about Flash and Iris West, because we got a new director for Flashpoint, and we were rumored to get a preview of Iris West in the Justice League. But now that we have this new director and a new direction for the film, they took her out because they wanted to make sure that the vision the director is giving us is what is going to work. And I feel like that's why Abrams and Johnson are still on board, is because they're willing to collaborate and work with each other to make the vision a whole.
Yeah, see, I like that. I like that they're working for the long game, for the entire vision, not just their own vision and what they can do, to maximize their property. It's all about the full scope of the entire universe that we're going to get.
Yes. Vanity Fair has a great article and some terrific pictures from the set. It's an older article, so I'm sure people have already read it. But Bustle also has an article, and the buzz around this is for Admiral Amilyn Holdo, which she's also listed as Vice Admiral Holdo. The fascination is around her very vibrant hair color, which is very unusual for us in the Star Wars realm. We never actually have seen a humanoid with non-natural hair. Okay, so Laura Dern is playing Holdo, and she's actually very excited to be in this franchise.
Laura Dern. Jurassic Park.
She was a fan from childhood. She grew up watching the movies, and she said she even had action figures. So she was totally on board. They're saying that the magenta hair could be a crossbreed between a humanoid and an alien in the Star Wars franchise, and that her hair color is because of her cultural background and upbringing. So the buzz, I guess, on this is surrounding Johnson giving us a new trilogy, and that he could possibly be introducing us to a whole new universe of organics.
Hybrid humans. Interesting. And you know what? And you know what that does? That brings the bottom line, that brings the budget down on effects for aliens. Like, hey, we can just dye their hair purple, and now they're a Zerillion, or I just made that up, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, but this could be a whole new part of the galaxy we've never seen before. And obviously this is not a manic panic experiment episode where you just decide to dye your hair magenta. There is an actual plot background to why her hair is this color.
That sounded like it came from experience.
Yeah, I have some manic panic bad color options.
You didn't say anything about her being wealthy, because this is actually going to be the first time that we really get an insight on the upper class in the Star Wars universe. Like, we really don't ever see it. The only time we ever see it is in a political sense, or in a monarchy kind of way, like with Padme and any of the Senate or the Emperor. But we never really get to see it from a layman.
Well, she is a high-ranking officer in the Resistance, obviously, if she's Vice Admiral. I mean, she's up there, and I believe she's going to be a close confidant to General Leia.
Zod?
Yeah, General Zod. No, General Organa.
Yes. And I just thought that was an interesting thing, because they also pointed out that they, in the new international trailer, there was a scene where they're going through an upscale casino. And they're saying that this is in the wealthy part of this is a wealthy district in whatever planet this is. It's hitting on that thing that we've never seen. We always end up in these, dives where all the scum go.
Well, if you haven't seen the full cast on Jimmy Kimmel, it was a great interview. You need to check it out. YouTube that. We will Google it. It will be put in the links. We did learn about the Porg. Kimmel gave Johnson a hard time about bringing a furry character because people did not receive the Ewoks very well in the first trilogy. But I love the Ewoks. I would have it as a pet. I'm not even going to lie. I would have a Porg as a pet.
Do they blink?
I don't know.
Well, you got to realize with the Ewoks, that was an issue when they first did it, is they didn't blink, so they seemed kind of creepy. So when they redid it with the effects, they CGI'd in the Ewoks blinking. I just thought that was funny.
I guess if that's an issue for people.
Even if it doesn't blink.
I'd take an Ewok. They build their own houses, and even if they don't blink, they could stand in the corner and stare at me while I sleep.
While you change.
You're so bad. We did also learn, however, that Finn John Boyega is not a fan of the Porg. He doesn't like the puppets.
There's something wrong with him.
I don't know, they're slightly creepy, and I'm sure if you had to work on set with them for days on end and they're just staring at you, not blinking, not gonna like that either.
It's probably just like a stuffed gerbil. Like, he doesn't actually have a porg.
Well, he said some of them were automated, so they would like move and scurry across the ground. So I don't know. I would think it would be a little creepy if you weren't expecting it.
So it's like a creepy Wait, Furbies are already creepy. So it's a creepy Furby.
I guess. It's a gremlin. No, I'm just kidding. We also learned that Mark was reading the script for episode 5, and it didn't fully expose to him that Vader was his father. But later, when they were shooting the scene, they brought it up to him, and that was the plot twist in the movie. So he actually had to keep it a secret for a year and a half, and had nightmares about the anxiety of him revealing it in his sleep.
That's an interesting fact.
See? I learned so much from Jimmy Kimmel.
Well, I have an interesting fact for you.
Okay.
Did you know that Star Wars Episode 4 is not owned by Disney?
Oh, do tell. Who does it belong to?
20th Century Fox. And they also continue to maintain the rights to the physical distribution for the rest of the original trilogy plus the prequel trilogy until 2020. But that could change.
Dun dun dun.
Okay, as most people are aware by now, Disney has their sights set on purchasing most of Fox's properties. They first met November 6th, but talks stalled, but they have continued talking now on December 3rd. In this deal, Fox would maintain ownership of their news and sports divisions, mainly because Disney is trying to avoid antitrust laws that would disallow the purchase due to regulations on the conduct and organization of a business to promote fair competition for the benefit of the consumer. So we're all about that. So what does this include? For one, outright ownership of Star Wars Episode 4 and the distribution rights that Fox maintains that were not part of the $4 billion purchase of Lucasfilm in 2012.
Well, Disney has done well with Lucasfilms and the Star Wars franchise. So with getting episode 4, if this purchase goes through, I feel like that's just sweetening the royalties from Star Wars to Disney.
Yeah, but also they get to distribute in-house now and reap those benefits.
Oh, okay.
Like, right now, basically, it's kind of like they're being forced to outsource the distribution.
Oh, they could also show the full, when they do those Harry Potter marathons, we could do like a full Star Wars marathon on Disney.
Oh, no, I think this is just distribution rights for the movies. We're talking about like DVD and, the rights to, I guess, re-show, I guess.
All right.
But there's more. The deal includes all of Fox's movies. A series of interest is The Planet of the Apes. This is a property that just recently released War for the Planet of the Apes that ended with an opening for further films. I, for one, would like to see more films. The original property itself was based off just one book. Like, they've done several, like even the original, the old Planet of the Apes movies, I think there's like 6, I'm not sure. But even then, you have your own vision when it comes to this, because basically the first movie was the first book. Anything after that, they made up. So the possibilities are endless.
Well, I enjoyed the most recent Planet of the Apes. Really, that whole entire series. I liked the way that they went. I liked the CGI. I liked the monkeys. I liked Woody Harrelson. Yeah,
the whole reboot series. I like how they made it a little more modern. Like, we could see this possibly happening.
Yes, and I enjoyed also that they gave us more of the backstory on how the virus got spread, how the monkeys started slowly turning, and how this epidemic began to unfold, and really how humanity responded to this,
Yeah, and see, for me, that's what really pulled me in. I mean, honestly, that story is a standalone story. Every subsequent story after that was essentially it became its own trilogy with one standalone movie, because I believe there's 4 altogether.
Yes.
Another movie property is James Cameron's Avatar series. This is a definite moneymaker, which they have already invested in with this year's opening of the World of Avatar theme park at Disney World's Animal Kingdom. Why not a Marvel theme park? A pre-existing deal between Universal and Marvel, made before Marvel's 2009 sale to Disney, prohibits Disney from using Marvel east of the Mississippi. Disney can only use Marvel in their West Coast theme parks, where they recently launched Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout at Disney California Adventure.
I have been to Universal Studios, and I have seen what Universal can do with Marvel, and that theme park is amazing.
What do they have? I've never been there, so.
They have a Spider-Man ride that is 4-dimensional. You ride in a roller coaster inside of a building, and you wear 3D glasses, and characters jump out at you, and you get splashed with like silly string and water, and it's amazing. They have the Hulk, which is a roller coaster. You go 0 to 60 in like 3 seconds, which would not work for you in your vertigo, but that's fine. They have the Captain America ride. They have an entire street where they do a parade of superheroes. It's freaking cool. Of course, it's been like, I think I went there when I was 18, so it's been like 15 years since I've been there, but it's still pretty damn cool.
So it's essentially like what the Six Flags theme parks do with the DC superheroes.
Correct. But it's more in depth. Like you literally walk down the street and like Spider-Man is like dangling from the wall. They do like, how at Six Flags they have that Mr. Freeze show and you go and it's like a live action theater of Batman.
It's kind of like a 4D experience.
Yes, they do that every 30 minutes on the street. So like Captain America is fighting somebody or Spider-Man is fighting somebody and, the Hulk shows up and it's pretty cool. It's very intense.
You know what I find odd about that though? Because obviously you said Universal. Doesn't Sony retain the rights or is it just movie rights to Spider-Man?
I don't know.
That's probably what it is. It's just movie rights. So that brings us to the biggest part of the acquisition. Fox's Marvel properties. Fox has the rights to the X-Men, which includes all of the older X-Men movies and the new First Class movies. Also included in that are the newly developed Deadpool movies, the New Mutants, along with projected developments of Gambit, X-Force, and X-23. Now the X-23 is actually just speculated. I don't think they've actually released anything that says that it is going to be about her, which is essentially it's the Laura Kinney, the character from Logan.
Which I'd like to see that.
I'm on board with that too.
I would hope though that with the direction that Disney has taken the new Star Wars trilogy, what we have seen so far of what they can do with an existing fan base, that should give people hope that Deadpool and the X-Men evolution under this new management can go in a positive direction. I'm a little hesitant though about Deadpool simply because you don't see very many Disney R-rated movies. But I know that you and I have had the discussion as a sidebar that Disney does have a partner company that they put their R-rated movies under.
I wouldn't call it a partner company. It's essentially just it's like a DBA, where it's us, but we're putting it under a different name, which I believe is Buena Vista.
But we talked about this in the last episode. I miss the X-Men. I would like to see more of the X-Men. I'm excited to see Gambit. I am excited to see where they're going to go with the New Mutants. I am excited to see how Cable develops and if they're going to give us the X Factor.
X-Force.
Or X-Force. So I need more X-Men in my life. And if Fox selling to Disney is going to give me that, I'm on board.
Yeah, and I'm not really worried about the fact that they are rated R and that they're trying to get, or they're creating that niche. Because it's like you said, they can take existing properties and maintain a vision. And I think that includes even if it's a rated R. They just won't put it under the Disney banner.
And I think also going back to Fantastic Four and that overall failure, because that is a Marvel property, I think Marvel would have more artistic input with Disney because we've seen Disney be receptive to Lucas and his vision for Star Wars. So I feel like you're going to get more of that cooperative, vision with Disney possibly purchasing this material from Fox.
Well, hopefully it's not from the president, though, and it's more from the creative side, because essentially they put Kevin Feige in charge of the MCU to separate it from the comic side, because the president of the comic side seemed to be interrupting the process more than helping it.
All right.
But again, that's the president. He has nothing really to do with the creative side. Like, I think we could see a little more input, from Rob Liefeld or, of course, Stan Lee. Just people that we know have been involved with these titles, have been here, forever. And they have made themselves known. They've made their mark. in our world, not just in these movies. And hopefully they can get a little more out of that as opposed to just making a movie to make money.
And Disney has a younger fan base, so we may be able to bring more, of our generation's children, because we're invested in these characters because we had the X-Men cartoons. We had Gambit and Rogue and all of these movies in the late 90s, early 2000s. So with Disney coming in, we may extend that fan base to, children who may be more receptive because it has that Disney marker on it.
Yeah, and I agree, because Fox did, on several occasions, try to recreate the X-Men cartoon. They had different versions of, the X-Men, the new X-Men, whatever else. They went in different directions according to where the series was, kind of. It really never panned out. Like, it just couldn't fill that fan base enough to maintain it. But I feel like what you said is right on. Disney basically comes with the fan base, because now you're not just showing X-Men on, FX or Fox, in the morning or whatever. You have the Disney Channel now to show cartoons, kind of like they do with Clone Wars and, the new series that they've been coming out, Rebel Alliance, or what is it called? Or Star Force Rebels.
Star Wars Rebels. Mm-hmm.
Star Wars Rebels. They've shown that they want to create more than just movies. They want to create an entire universe of stories that everybody can enjoy. And they know they can't do that with just the movies or with just cartoons or just this. So they do it all.
I hope that if Disney does acquire X-Men, that when they do show it, our children have the same giddy reaction that we do when we hear that theme song.
Oh, yeah. The old theme song.
Do-do-do-do-do-do-do.
They need to figure out how to make that come back. They need to reuse that. And now they would own the jingle, because that would be Fox property.
Yes, it needs to have a little bit more bass and a little bit more synthesizing.
Ooh, throw some distortion with the guitar. That would be badass.
Yeah, see? Yeah. I mean, we could do this.
Okay, yeah. Moving on. Okay, but Fox doesn't just own the X-Men universe. They also own the Fantastic Four. We have had 2 poor attempts at movies from Fox, and I would hope Disney plans on invigorating this franchise, and that they will feel more confident in getting the comic series back up and running. This property is long overdue for a quality depiction, and I feel like the fans will be receptive with Disney behind the camera.
And I'm not really sure how I feel on the Fantastic Four, because like you said, we've got 2 really poor attempts at giving us this story. I'm familiar with the comic series, so I know where we want to be with this, but I don't feel like anybody has our vision. So I don't know if Disney can really give us a new take on that storyline. I would hope that they would not go with a reboot, but like maybe go with a different birth story. Like give us a different origin story, kind of keeping in line with the same original story, like a New 52 or a Rebirth. Like give us a new take on the original origin of the Fantastic Four.
Well, here's the thing. I think they may actually stick with the more original. But, okay, we discussed this a little earlier. It's something I saw on Nerdist, and it's based off a casting call that Marvel has put forward. And essentially they're casting people that essentially, like for Mad Men, it's people that look like secretaries and this and that during the 60s. Like this is basically what they're telling people that they're casting for.
I could pull off that look.
And the speculation is somehow there is going to be either a flashback or time travel to the 60s. And by doing this, they may be opening the door, which they may not hit on it at first, but they may be opening the door to showing the Fantastic Four origin in the 60s, and thus explaining that somehow they get lost or they get transported somewhere else, or like the original story, they end up in space, but maybe they get lost not only in space but in time, so that when they come back they will be in line with the current MCU.
Possible. It sounds very feasible.
Because it would completely explain also, like, well, where have they been this whole time? Like, we've had how many movies and we haven't even heard an inkling of these people, because essentially to them it was 4 astronauts that were sent into space and never heard from again. Actually, it was 5 astronauts, was it not? Because it was the Fantastic Four and Doctor Doom. Well, Victor Doom.
Right.
But I know that one it's a reach, but I like that vision that, they could possibly use this as a gateway to bringing them in. All barring, that they are able to purchase the Fox properties.
Assuming they acquire this. Yes.
Okay.
Going with that mindset, we also have 2 TV properties in the Legion and Gifted being on FX and Fox. These 2 shows have done very well with reviews and ratings and would definitely be worth continuing for Disney in the future. But from what we know, the Marvel movie and TV divisions work independently, the TV division not being quite as acclaimed. So in general, we may not see much change in that department.
Correct, because MCU TV department is not as acclaimed as Fox's TV division, which, Fox has done really well with The Gifted and Legion. Legion, I believe, was up for Golden Globe. Okay, but the bigger question comes with the networks themselves, as they would be absorbed into Disney. Not sure how this would be handled. Would Disney continue to maintain these network channels with the eventual rebranding, kind of like Fox Family becoming ABC Family, which is now Freeform?
Yeah, I wonder how that would work with Disney and their family-friendly policy, because we have a lot of shows on FX that are non-family friendly. And so would they completely overhaul the branding of those channels, or would they just taper them off? Would they end them? Would they sell them off? Like, there's a lot of questions that I have about this whole FX thing.
Possibly they could just rebrand each network, or consolidate them into, basically consolidate the properties on the channels into however many networks they want to bring it down to. Like, they may just end up with Fox and FX instead of all the other channels too. Bring all the good stuff over, put it on here, put on there, and then eventually rebrand them, rename them, like we mentioned with Freeform, so that they're no longer associated with Fox. And it would allow them to maintain separation, so that, like you said, family friendly.
Family friendly. We actually say that around the house when we're talking about cursing.
When you don't want to cuss somebody out, we repeat, family friendly.
Family friendly. Yeah, I feel like Legion, which is on FX, that's a good place for it, because I feel like they go a little more in that X-Men lane of the dark side of the Marvel universe. Gifted is also slightly darker, but it's a little more homely, because you're following a family. So I feel like Gifted kind of fits into that model that we've seen from Disney. Legion would be outside of their normal realm. And so it would be interesting to see how they, like you said, rebrand that maybe onto Freeform or something in that case, because obviously Pretty Little Liars does not fit into the Disney platform.
Correct. But that's why they have the network the way it is, and why it's not directly associated with Disney, so that they keep that separation. Because this is something that it's a lot of teen drama, and it's a little more on the serious side, as opposed to just he said, she said. Like, I don't know, a pregnant teenager.
What? Teenagers get pregnant?
But that's a good example internally also, not just an external face. It's not just they didn't just revamp the face. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, they didn't just, it is a different brand.
We will have to wait and see. Comcast is also in the negotiations for Fox. They're obviously not as prevalent, but their name has come up several times. So obviously they are a, name in the deal here. So So we'll have to see how it goes. But obviously Disney is the front runner for this.
I believe Apple was also in the room. Essentially because they're trying to expand their media division.
I would be more on board with Netflix taking over Fox than I would Apple.
I agree. Because like I said, it's somebody who just barely has gotten a business off the ground that has, one little area that they manage is suddenly now going to manage a conglomerate entertainment business.
I'm out.
Yeah, I don't feel safe in those hands.
I need big, strong, soft, manly hands for my X-Men. I don't need frilly little girl hands, okay?
You mean Silicon Valley hands?
Yeah, I don't need Richard. I don't need Richard.
Let's call it Pied Piper. It looks like you're blowing a dick.
Oh my god, Guilfoyle. Okay, so are you good with this? How do you feel? You want to close that out?
Yes. No, that's all you.
Well, that's all, folks. Thank you so much for stopping by and letting us fill your head with this useless information. You can check us out on our website at mushyhead.com for a complete list of links, as well as fun and interesting factoids. And don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. Until next week, Goonies never say die.
Die!
No, never say die.
Die!